Well, welcome everyone to another session of the AASPI Speaker Series. My name is Russell Mason, Vice President of AASPI and your MC for tonight. So starting off with our usual housekeeping, and I'd like everyone, if they could please keep their devices or everyone's devices to mute during tonight's presentation to eliminate any background noise. And as per the previous sessions, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the chat function of your Zoom screen. And questions will be collated and posed to tonight's presenter at the end of the talk. Well, getting on to the presenter, tonight's guest speaker, all the way from Perth, we have AASPI member Catherine Matthys. Catherine's work has been internationally exhibited and published, which includes a 2018 feature in Click magazine's one of 20 women changing photography. Catherine has also exhibited AASPI's first Street Beats exhibition way back in 2019. Seems like a million years ago now, but it's last year. This session will be an interview style talk with the help of AASPI President, our very own Susan Bruniotti. So on behalf of the AASPI committee, I'd like to welcome all members and guests to the presentation. So it's over to you, Sue and Catherine.
Great. Thanks so much, Russ. And welcome, Catherine. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure. I'll just start sharing. Okay. Lovely. All right. So, well, first things first, can you tell us a bit about how you got started in photography?
Yes. So I started photography back about 10 years ago. I've always taken photos and loved doing it, but never really took it very seriously, except enjoyment of photos. But it wasn't until, I did teaching for about 10 years, and then my husband, through his work, we got transferred to Singapore. And we lived in Singapore, and I was able to work there. So I had a business where I was selling art. And from Singapore, we moved to the Netherlands and living in The Hague. And there I was considered a trailing spouse and I was not allowed to work. So I did some volunteer work and then decided, there was a girl that I knew and she took some photos at social occasions, and I said, "What's your camera?" And she said, "Oh, it's a Nikon D70. So I thought, I think I'm going to go and buy a camera. So I went and bought the Nikon D70, just like hers, and I'm still with Nikon. And so it was from there that I realized I dived in way too deep. It was a DSLR and I didn't know what half the buttons meant. So I enrolled in a course in Amsterdam, and that was about a half-hour train ride from The Hague. So I would get on the train every Friday and go to my photography class. And in the photography class, they were talking about f-stops and shutter speed and all these things. And it was in English, but because they were Dutch, I was thinking, are they speaking English, or are they, like, it was really hard for me to get a grasp on all this technical language, but I persisted. And then we'd go out and do some photo shoots in the local area and practice, and it was a bit sort of landscapey, and there was the odd person in it, but it was really more just getting the light right and composition and shutter speed and aperture priority and all of those things. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And that was really where I started seriously understanding photography.
Oh, fabulous. So you spoke about, so you started taking landscapes, did you say?
Yes, I was doing a bit of landscape photography, really just to practice, but it didn't have the factor for me that I was looking for. I love architectural photography, so I would really be focused on the old, beautiful Dutch buildings and the canals, and just and of course the very modern architecture that the Dutch are known for as well, and their colours and shape and form. So that was where I really focused on, and we moved back to Australia, and I started doing real estate photography on the back of me loving buildings and architecture and interiors. So I did a little bit of that, and I also was in a couple of magazines where I did some interior photo shoots as well. But eventually, especially the real estate, I found way too structured and repetitive. And even though I got to have a look in some beautiful homes, I just thought, no, I'm going to go and do some more study. So it was then that I enrolled. Actually, my husband filled out the forms and said, just go and do some study. And I went back to university and studied photo media.
Fabulous. So was that in Melbourne?
That was in Perth. And so it was during that I really expanded my knowledge and kind of honed down what I wanted to focus on. And that was around the same time we started to travel a bit, and it was around about that time I had come back from Vietnam, which is where this photo was taken. And a friend of mine actually sent me a link and said, look at this competition, it's called the Independent Photographer, and you know, if you've got any photos, I know you've taken up photography, why don't you enter it? So I just sent off, I think 3, and this was one of them. And then they replied and they said, could they have this one in a higher resolution? So I said, sure, and I sent it off. And then the next thing I knew, you had actually won the travel section. So I was really thrilled.
Congratulations.
And an adjunct to that is, I said to a girlfriend, I said, I won this award, and annually they present all the awards for the different categories. And this year it's in Berlin. Do you feel like coming for a trip to Berlin? And she said, yep. So we went and we met all the independent photographer guys who are fantastic, and a lot of people from all over the world. And went to this amazing exhibition of everyone's photographs, and it was just the most amazing experience. And I knew I'd found my tribe. You know, I just loved it all.
Yeah, sure. Wow, amazing! What a wonderful story. And so I guess, yeah, because I would say your photography merges travel and street. Would you say? Yeah. So how is it then that I guess you came to embrace street photography?
Yeah, so I'll just look at my notes. So yeah, I guess I see myself as a photographer who uses the street as a canvas. And, you know, when you're traveling, it's much easier because everyone's taking photos and you're just part of the, you know, you're just part of the tourists taking photos. This photo was in Jaipur, actually, in India. And yeah, I remember we were in the hotel, and just one afternoon I said, you know, we said, let's just go out for 10 minutes, and walked out onto the street. And, you know, you're on street level, and then all of a sudden you look up and there were these little kids with their heads out the window on this beautiful pink wall. And yeah, that was just magic. Yeah, I loved those. I loved that day. You know how when you look at an image and you get the same feelings you had when you were there. That's what the image does for me. So yeah, I guess when people started to enter the frame of my images, I really love people, and I find them really interesting, and that combined with their environment was kind of what really grabbed me. And yeah, I guess there's lots of definitions for street photography, and mine definitely is not gritty, and it's just observational, I guess, and generally people focused.
Yeah. Oh, I would say your style is definitely decisive moment. Are you more of a fisher, or do you chase your images?
Probably. No, hang on. What's the fisher goes
Waits.
Oh, waits.
Waits a long time.
Yeah, and then Yeah, so what am I? I'm a bit impatient, I have to say. So, oh, look, I think my maximum's probably 10 minutes. I was listening to one of the photographers talk about sitting somewhere for an hour, and I thought, oh, I just don't know, unless I really thought that, unless I had intuitive sense that something amazing was going to happen. But yeah, I probably move a bit too fast sometimes. So I've had to teach myself to stop and spend a little bit more time. But this, I probably took 20 photos of these guys in different angles and things.
It's so gorgeous.
And they were gorgeous. They were really interacting with us. So This is also in India, and I call this image Bathe. And I had this, there's a place in Perth called the Centre for Stories, and the Centre for Stories asked me to do an exhibition of my India photos and tell the story about my experience in India. And this was one of the images, and I call it Bathe. This was in Pushkar, and this person was sitting there, and I've always thought it was a woman, but it was interesting that at the exhibition people were divided and think it's a man. And now that I think about it, I think it possibly is a man. Because it was, to this day, I don't know. But there was a beautiful serenity about this moment. And that place, of course, is the holy city where they come to bathe in the holy water. And that was a magical time there.
Yeah, is that Varanasi?
No, Pushkar.
Oh, Pushkar, sorry. Yeah.
I didn't get to Varanasi, but yeah, I would really like to have seen some amazing images from there.
Sure. All right, let's have a look. Wow, tell us about this one. I love it.
Yeah, so that was just another moment in India where this woman, beautifully attired, and, this is the thing that struck us, is that, they were just dressed immaculately in the beautiful colours, and, we had this wonderful guy who was our bus driver. We had this little dicky bus that we went around in, and every morning he had a clean white shirt on, and we just couldn't believe that, it was just amongst all the grit and grime that they were just amazing. So here was this woman helping, obviously, her husband, I assume, in this particular image in, can't remember. Where was that? I think that was in, what's the one that starts with A? In India. Sorry, I'll get back to that.
You've certainly got a great sense of timing, I feel, in your imagery and your photography. Do you have criteria when you're out shooting, or is it intuition or something that just grabs you on the spot?
A bit of both. Sometimes I have an idea and I've seen, all the elements, and I think, okay, so if that was to happen, that would make a really nice image. And, so I will wait, and sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. And oh my gosh, sometimes it's definitely intuition. You just have this amazing sense to walk down a street or turn a corner, or, you just get this sense that something's about to happen, or, so this was one of those moments. This is Morocco. Lovely. And, this woman just walked along here, and I loved the spherical images and the wall, the textures. And, colour is amazing, and I love bright, brilliant colours, but I also love subtle colour. It can really just evoke a sense of place. And this is definitely, anyone that looks at this photo would think probably Marrakesh if they've been to Morocco.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's amazing. Like, it's an amazing sense of place that I get when I see this image. But I also love the play on the balls, like just sitting there, you think, what are they doing? And then you've got these triangle windows, and so you're like, okay, so is this a house? Like, and just, you know, the lady walking in or out of the frame, and she's, you know, got tones that matches the scene as well. It's perfect, really.
Thank you.
What do you think makes a good photo, Catherine?
Oh, look, I just, I think a good photo just works on every level. You know, you look at it and you see a sense of, well, okay, so I think a photo that works and that makes a good photo is a photo that gives, evokes some sort of emotion. It can be just that it's an absolutely beautiful aesthetic image. It could be that it's surreal. It could be that it's funny, but it evokes this feeling and sense of place, and obviously technically it's better if it's in focus and or not. What you're going for. So this photo was exhibited in New York at the Women's Street Photographers first inaugural exhibition with Gulnara Samalova, and she chose this image and asked me to submit it, to put it in the exhibition. And this was also in Morocco, and we were walking down the street, and this was actually not a film set, but they were doing something there, and I just thought, oh my goodness, you know, I'm just going to get a photo of this guy because he was so perfectly attired, and the people that were there said, yeah, no problems, take a photo. And you know, it's not unposed street photography, it's kind of posed photography, but it was the fact that I was there in this country, and then there was this Western icon of the Coca-Cola symbol, and you know, this whole scene that was just kind of surreal. You know, because either side of this shop were just tatty old buildings in, you know, very sort of Moroccan style, and there was this very striking roller door, red roller door with the Coca-Cola sign. So yeah, it's certainly created a lot of interest, this photo.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It's perfectly framed. I mean, you know, he's got socks on.
Yeah, I know.
He's got red stripes. He's got the red and white shorts that match the red and white background. It's like, yeah, it's a cracker.
Yeah, it's
well done. But oh my gosh, tell me about this photo. I mean,
yeah,
seriously, the photography gods were smiling on you this day. You've got this tree that looks like it's out of a Dr. Seuss book. You've got complementary colours with the blue and the yellow. Like, what?
Yeah, so similar thing, walking down a street in Chefchaouen in Morocco. So that is the blue city. And I was a bit hesitant to go to Chefchaouen because I thought it was way too touristy. But this was actually a bit away from the touristy part. And this guy walked along the street. I actually liked this scene without him. And I saw him walking along with his bucket. And I thought, oh my goodness, he's just going to clean that thing. That'll be a lovely image. Lovely to have him with his yellow pants in it. And then he bent over, and I just thought, fabulous. So yeah, that was just one of those moments.
Yeah. How many photos did you take? Just the one?
No, I've probably got, probably another, I don't know, 10. Some of him walking in, some of him walking out. And then it was when he did this to clean the pond that I knew. And you know how you just get that feeling, feeling through your whole body that it worked. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you don't even need to check the back of your camera. You're like, yeah, I got it.
I hope my settings were correct.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, for sure. Oh, well done. This is, really inspirational.
Thank you.
So can you tell us about some of the places that you've been then, Catherine?
Yeah, so then I've just made a list. So Morocco, India, Italy, France, Japan, Vietnam, Spain, USA, and New Zealand. But this particular image, and I've got images from those places coming up, but this particular image was taken, you probably all know where this is taken.
Looks like Melbourne, maybe?
Yes, yeah, the NGV building. So one day I just had, I don't know, I reckon I had about an hour or 2 hours, and I thought, I'll go to the NGV building. And then there was this delightful girl, a little girl, and I just really like this image because, it's difficult to shoot children, but in this case, it's blurred, and it's just sweet how she put her hand on the water, and it's just a moment.
Oh, very much so. I love how her hand is in focus and the rest of it's blurred.
Yes. And interestingly, a friend, a girl I know, contacted me and asked me to have this printed. And so it's big, and she has it in her home. And she said, I saw it on your Instagram, and she said, and she actually got it for her milestone birthday, and she has all boys, and she said, I just wanted this little bit of feminine touch in my home, and so that was very sweet.
Yeah, gorgeous. Oh, lovely. So from Melbourne, looks like New South Wales, Bondi icebergs. Tell us about this image. This was exhibited in Street Beats, wasn't it?
It was. This was the one in Street Beats. And I didn't get across to that, but I had a friend visiting Melbourne, so I said, get down and have a look at the exhibition. So she saw it and took photos. But so this, I did a series at Bondi. I've always loved people's images. Is it Rosie English?
Yeah, Rosie English.
Yeah. I really love, well, I like anyone's photos at Bondi. They're just so beautiful with the water, and the day I went, I didn't get any big splashes. I would have loved that, but this guy was just taking off, and I love the fact that he had the Bondi iceberg bathers on, and just a bit of his equipment.
I really love the framing in this image, how you've got a triangle here in the bottom right, and he's just about to dive off. It's really great.
Thank you.
Tell us about this image. It almost looks surreal.
Yeah, the light, I have a series of these images on that day, and the light was unbelievable. See the cloud cover? It was creating like this light box effect. This is at Cottesloe Beach, and Cottesloe has the sculptures by the sea, the same as Bondi has. Oh, right. And I've taken them every year. I've taken photos from at the exhibition every year. So I have a series of sculptures by the sea, and this was a sculpture, and these two were just observing it. And I really, the whole point of Sculptures by the Sea is that people interact with the art, and it creates a lot of interest, and they get record numbers come to see all the sculptures. I think there's probably about 30 or 40 all over the beach and surrounds. And yeah, this particular day, the light was incredible. And I don't think I really appreciated it until I went back, days afterwards and thought, oh, damn, it's not as good. But, yeah.
It looks amazing. Like, what is the material of this?
They were like it's not plastic, but it's it was a hard, they were hard, not soft. Those white things, and the black things, I'm not sure the stems themselves, but could have been metal. Yeah.
Amazing. Really amazing. It almost looks like they've been composited in. They just perfect. very Insta-worthy, I could imagine, this festival.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, they do. And that's the other thing is that, you know, in Perth, you know, if you have a camera at any other time, you obviously are more obvious. But if you're at Sculptures by the Sea, everyone's got, a lot of people have got cameras and want to take selfies and want to record the particular artworks. So it's a wonderful opportunity to get your camera out.
Yeah, for sure. Let's have a look. What's next? Wow. Tell us about this image. Well, actually, probably a good time to ask you a question about, so in your photography, do you focus as much on the technical aspects or, hang on, I'll read that again. In your photography, do you focus as much on the technical aspect as the complexity of the subjects you're shooting?
Yeah, so it depends. It depends where I am. If I have got the settings pretty much right for that particular situation, then I will just not worry about them and I will just shoot. And this particular day, it was reasonably stable light. You know, sometimes when you're walking down the street, one side's dark and one side's light, so you've got to be spot on with your manual controls. But this was actually a walkway, like it was a road. It's in Nice, and there was a road that went around, and I just looked down and I thought, oh my goodness, they look like Barbie dolls, but you know, they were in fact real, and all with their, you know, something over their face, which was cool. But yeah, just lying on these pebbles, I was like, yep, well, I don't know how comfortable that is. Maybe it's a rock massage, but it was just, I loved the colours, the number of them, you know, compositionally. It was kind of hard to work out what to do with them, but I just sort of wanted a bit of water in there as well. So
yeah,
that's how I ended up with that composition.
Yeah. And again, though, you know, the way you've framed it up, it's, you know, I feel like you've got some triangle happening down here again in the bottom right and then up on the top left. Like, it's compositionally really strong. You've got a great eye, Catherine.
Thank you.
So where in the world are we here?
So this is the same place. So those girls were just around the corner, and this was, it's actually not very good resolution, that image, but this was, I call this image Holy Roller.
So he's a priest, is he?
No, she's a nun, but he, I don't, you know, I just sort of combined those two things. But I saw him out of the corner of my eye and coming on the scooter, and so yeah, I just thought, oh, I'll try and get the three of them, and it worked. So yeah, that was in Nice as well.
Oh, it's amazing. Really lovely tones as well.
Yeah, that soft light again.
Beautiful. Tell us about this one. You've turned your work black and white here?
Yeah, so occasionally I like to find a black and white image. This image is quite good in colour too, but I just like the head tilting and the white sky and the seats and the just you wonder about the people and, you know, the fact that what are they thinking, who's with who, is that guy on his own in the middle, you know, just that lovely interaction. I call this communal view.
Nice. I love how there's 7 human elements as well.
Odd number.
Yeah, exactly.
Much better.
What have you learned in your journey as a photographer, Catherine?
Well, photography has really taught me to look and observe. I'm much stronger at that now because of photography. Yeah, to take my time to, I find it very meditative. I'm always happier when I've been on it doesn't even matter if I don't get a photo. If I just go for a walk and observe and, look at options for photos. In fact, I now wonder what I used to do when I travelled. I think, what did I used to do? Now I see so much more, and I feel as though I meet so many more people too. The camera is a conduit to, meeting and interacting with the locals wherever you are. What are you doing? Oh, you're a street photographer. Can I have a look? Can you send them to me? I mean, I have sent so many photos to people because they love the fact that, it's not a normal photo of them standing looking at the camera. They like the fact that they're part of a scene, they're part of the theatre that, is street photography, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone in a few ways. When I started studying, I was obviously a mature age student when I started studying photography, photo media. And I was like, oh my God, can I, all the assignments and all the talented young people that were there. So that, really pushed me, and all the traveling and, just interacting with people and, getting your camera and taking photos when sometimes you might be nervous or you might be whatever, but you just think, I'm going to document this. I've seen something, it's special. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look. Wow. Tell us about this image. Where in the world are we now?
Yeah, so this is Tokyo. My son did a stint in Tokyo studying, and I said, oh, I'll come too. So I went along, and one day he and I were just out doing touristy things, and he said, oh, I'm not, because he'd already been there for 4 weeks before I got there, so he wanted to show me a few things. And then he took me up to this building, and I saw a guy leaning against the glass taking some shots, and I thought, oh, this might be a spot where you can get some shots from above. And I looked down, and this was the scene, this amazing crosswalk, and all these people. And I mean, as you've noted, I do quite often take individuals isolated in their environment, and obviously this is more than one. But on this particular day, when the red lights were going, one individual would cross on their own. And so whilst I have this image, which I like because it's got pops of colour, I also have images of just one person, running across the crosswalk.
Yeah. What I find amazing is there's so many people with black and white legs and shoes going on this black and white background.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God.
Just to help me with the graphics of it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, this summed up Tokyo. So I did a little series called Tokyo Moves, because I was just so impressed and amazed at how they move. One of the most populous cities in the world, and when you're walking down the street, nobody gets in your way. They just seem to, it's like a flock of birds. They're so used to so many people getting on and off trains, crossing, that it was just incredible. It was fantastic. My son loved Tokyo. He wants to go and live there. He just said, Mum, the food's amazing, the people are amazing, it's so clean, everything works, the trains are on time, and this summed it up. A lot of the images are just so organised, I guess.
Yeah, amazing, really amazing. It reminds me of Jesse Marlow going to Tokyo. I think it was maybe 2 years ago for 2 weeks, and he created a series that was exhibited in Sydney.
Yes.
And he talks about how amazing Tokyo was as well.
I think Jesse was pretty blown away with it as well.
Yeah. Do you have photographers that inspire you or artists that inspire you, Catherine?
Yeah, so when I was studying, I really loved studying all photographers. You just got such a broad view of a lot of photographers. But if I had to, when I came back to Perth, I actually met up with a guy, his name is Simon Cowling, and he's been a photographer for years and years and years. And I went to him with all my questions, and he was fantastic, and I really liked his photography. So he was like a mentor and still is. But in terms of the greats, Henri Cartier-Bresson, obviously, for his form and decisive moment. I've just got a little list here. Saul Leiter for his colour and abstract work. Jacques-Henri Latique, just beautiful, elegant moments. The woman with the dog on the beach and dog jumping. I mean, and her jumping. And so one of the books that, one of the women photographers that I really love is Vivian Meyer, a very enigmatic person. But I could just look at her work all day. It's just pure bliss. She's just, for such an unusual individual who didn't ever show her photos, and she has so many of them. And a lot of people don't realise. This is one of my favourite books of hers.
The new one, the Colour series.
Yeah, and it's just incredible images. And I also like, different genre, Annie Leibovitz. So I just think it's amazing how she's able to take a person and capture something really unique but personal to them. And I think that translates to the street. I think you can find personalities and individuals and, capture them in a setting that's kind of interesting as well. And then, of course, Jesse Marlow, who I love his work. I think his unique view of Melbourne is fantastic and very inspiring. And then, of course, Julia Coddington and Rebecca Wiltshire, who are Rebecca's here in Perth. I'm part of a group that she's in, and Julia's amazing series of the water pools. But yeah, lots of people, lots of. I'm part of. So there's this Perth Street group that I'm a part of, and Unexposed Collective, of course. I follow women street photographers and women in street, both US based. And I actually met Gulnara in New York.
Oh, wow.
I travelled with a friend there, and she's also a photographer, and we met Gulnara one evening, and it was a little bit of, fan worship there. I was just feeling like, oh, I created this incredible site, and she's obviously got a huge following now. And Street Photography International and the Independent Photographer, and of course AASPI, I'm all part of.
Yay!
Yeah.
Thanks for your support. Tell us about this image. It looks like we're in Japan still, is that right?
Yeah, so this was just another one in Japan, and just at a train station, and I just, once again, that whole order of, and this is 2019 as well, I think. January. So yeah, January 2019. And so I was ahead of my time with the whole mask thing. But because a lot of Japanese do wear masks in Tokyo. But yeah, just that whole spacing and the diagonal and the colours. The colours on my screen of this image aren't as good as they normally are, so I'm not sure why. But anyway, they just those subtle tones with the human element dotted, and spaced up the staircase.
Yeah, absolutely. All all space. So, you know, it almost looks like it's a conveyor belt of heads.
Yeah, that's right. And people going about their daily lives, and you, once again, you know, that sticky beak in me thinks, what are you doing? Who are you? Where's your family? You know, just that interest in people in their environment.
Yeah, lovely. Tell us
Yeah.
about this image.
Yeah, same again, Tokyo train station. I just loved the light. Sort of, you know, two people unrelated, but sitting on the same space, and just the light covering their faces, and just the body language and gestures of the people just struck me about that image.
It's a little bit different to other style. Like I would say, this is probably more about the light and shadow.
Yes,
I feel like other images are more about colour and form and shape.
True. That is true. Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely. So this not shot on a street, I would say.
No, I threw this one in because I was just going to say that with COVID, I feel as though, well, for a while there, I wasn't. We sort of thought we'd do this. Let's document COVID, but I just didn't. I did a little bit around my home and how we were coping with COVID, but then I thought, you know, I didn't feel comfortable on the streets for some reason, so I didn't really pursue that. And then I just started, it's given me time to sort of pivot into other things, and I loved the whole concept of blurred vision, I called it, a series where, you know, the lines are blurred. It ties in with that whole idea of how we see ourselves. And I want to work and continue to work on this series outside of street photography. But I think without COVID, I wouldn't have had the time to explore that whole, just a different side of photography that I would normally do. And yeah, I want to continue. I want to continue with that.
Yeah, sure. I don't think you're alone by not feeling comfortable on the streets. I know myself, it hasn't been so much not comfortable on the streets, but just, I guess, lacking a bit of inspiration.
True.
Really.
Me too. I'm glad I'm not the only one, because I thought, what's wrong with me? But really, I just had a bit of a hiatus, I think. But in having said that, preparing for this talk has actually got me all motivated again. So I'll probably be out there, you know, tomorrow morning.
Excellent. I guess you've probably got people on your street too.
We do. In fact, I was in the city, you know, we've been pretty much back to normal, and I was in the city the other day, and I actually get a bit shocked when someone sort of points to where you have to stand, and I think, oh yes, sorry, we're still doing that, aren't we? Oh. You know, you forget, and we're not wearing masks. Some people do, but I don't know how long since we've had cases. Not many for a long time. And just looking forward to when we can open up the borders and get back to some sort of normality.
Oh, so are we.
I can't imagine how, you know, you guys had to really only had, for a while there, you only had an hour or so, 2 hours that you're allowed out. Is that right?
I was still only allowed out 2 hours. But yes, anyway, hopefully next week we have some changes that come through. And that brings us some relief, if not just physically, but also mentally, I think.
Yes. Yeah, no, hearing lots of that. It's pretty tough.
So what equipment do you use, Catherine? Obviously your camera, but...
Yeah, I graduated from the D750, the D70, and I now have the Nikon D750. And I mainly, I do have a couple of primes, a 50 and a 25, but the main lens I use is a 24-70, and I try not to zoom too much, but I actually would like to buy a Fuji or a Leica, a smaller camera. Leica if they'd like to give me one, but Fuji otherwise. No, I just think I'd like to. I find it really hard to let go of my. I've borrowed a Fuji and I really liked it, but boy, it's hard to shift from what you used to for so long. So I'd really like to try that. And recently I bought an Olympus underwater camera, which I'm experimenting with. And I also have a drone. So yeah, I took some drone shots. I went up north recently and I took some drone shots of the Pink Lake in near Kalbarri. And what were the other? Oh, a friend of mine was doing a starfish in the water at Ningaloo. And what was the other? There's another one or something. But I also went on a helicopter and I hung out of the helicopter and did some aerial shots. So it's certainly, you know, quite often out of a bad situation, something good can come. And with COVID, all West Australians have now seen more of their state because we just had all this time to travel and go and have a look. And it might just be a town around the corner, you know, down the road. Or it might be, you know, going up north and exploring the Kimberley and, you know, these regions. And yeah, it's, you know, I'm not a particularly into landscape photography, but it made me do it because, you know, I had my camera and I was in these amazing places. And yeah, it's just something a bit different, broadens the mind.
Yeah, sure. I reckon once the borders open up, you might see a few more Victorians heading over, or Victorians might see a bit more of Western Australia.
Yeah, I hope so.
So then you mentioned underwater. Is this photo taken underwater?
No, this is taken above water, but it did inspire me to, if I did want to continue with this series, I wanted to be able to have a camera that could cope with the water. And I did use it whilst I was at Ningaloo Reef, and I went underwater with it with my snorkel, and was doing some underwater photography up there. But I didn't have the right subjects like this girl. So yeah, I will continue with that project alongside my street photography.
Sure. And when you're out shooting street, Catherine, I know you said you're taking your 24 to 70. Do you like a fixed focal length, or do you try and shoot at a fixed focal length?
Yeah, well, it's somewhere in the middle there between the 24 and 70. I generally sit closer to the wider angle than the 70. But yeah, it's when I see the image, I set the frame, and you can do that just by walking forward or walking back, and or you know, or using the zoom component. But I certainly don't like big zooms for street photography. So yeah, try to keep it in the you know 35mm realm.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's all the images that we've gone through, Catherine. Thank you so much. The talk's been wonderful. Well, where to next?
Where to next? Well, I probably will do some more printing. I love printed images. I think they just amazing when you see images printed and other people's. So yeah, I've got other photographers' images on my walls. So I'd like to do a bit more printing and exhibiting and travel when I can. Yeah, just exploring more of, I've been doing a lot of reading in COVID, and that's been great, watching a lot of podcasts, just constantly learning. I'm a golfer and I like to make the comparison between photography and golf. You get some great shots and you get some bad shots, and you're always learning. You're always trying to get better. So for me, it's about, you know, pushing myself to try different styles. And yeah, I guess the next stage for me would be, you know, trying to be a little bit more gritty, a little bit more photojournalistic perhaps, and just try and get, I mean, it's probably not my style, but, you know, I just like to tell a story.
Sure, you do that very well.
Thank you.
I did do a little bit of research on you, Catherine, and found out that in 2018 you were featured in Click magazine as one of 20 women changing photography.
Yeah, that was a real shock.
How did that come about?
Trying to find the magazine. Here it is. Oh no, that's not it. Yes, here it is. I had to go and buy one, of course. No, they sent me one. That's fine. Yeah, so Click magazine, and it was a double-page spread, and yeah, a couple of those you'll probably recognise, the Bondi Girl, and yeah, and with some other photographers who was really lovely actually. Some of them we all contacted each other and had a bit of a chat about it, and there was a bit of everything, all different styles. And I think there was that real push there for a while where everyone was saying, you know, it's a male dominated industry, photography and all that, and I think they were just trying to promote the fact that women are out there doing it and doing all different styles of things. I don't buy into that whole gender thing, by the way. I just think anyone can take photos, and you know, it's not an issue for me.
Yeah, sure. That's it from me, Russ. I'll hand over to you.
Okay, well, thanks very much. I guess we can clear something up from the top. Was the city in India, was that Agra?
Yes.
Okay, well, the prize goes to Jane for that one, because she just said it with that. So I don't know what we can give you, but the $64,000 question has been solved. So thank you.
Yes, Agra. Oh gosh, I can't believe I couldn't remember that.
Yeah, one of the big spots. So
yeah,
I've got a few questions. You mentioned the Tokyo moves and the other projects, like the water project and that. Do you go out there like after a shot and then think I can get a series from this, or do you come up with a collection and then think, oh, I can expand on this and I'll make it into some sort of project or theme?
Yeah. So well, specifically with Tokyo, it was a sense I got while I was there, and then I didn't even really have to try and look out for those sorts of scenes that were just everywhere. So yeah, People on the Move and was an idea that came to me while I was there, and I pulled it together when I got home. And the water series is an ongoing thing that I just love the concept. I love the concept of blurred vision, and I just want to take that somewhere. I did a series called In the Medina, but really that's just the images I took around Morocco, and obviously most of them were in the Medinas. New York Tapestry was just, I came up with that because in New York I just felt there were so many layers and textures and elements that it was like this beautiful tapestry of colours and people and good and bad, and yeah, there were just so many elements to it that I wanted to show that you know, all the street art in Brooklyn, and you know, the amazing shops in Fifth Avenue, and then, you know, heading into the poorer areas, and just all the elements that made up New York and the history behind it, where all these people have come from, you know, historically, makes up this rich tapestry, and makes New York what it is, and why people want to go there and be there.
Yeah, great.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, I've checked out your Instagram account, and a lot of the New York shots. You get some colour in those grey streets as well. Those smokestacks and witches' hats and things, and then you've got cabs, and it's an amazing place.
Yeah.
One of the greatest places you can shoot in the street, I guess.
Yes.
Speaking about Tokyo before, there was actually there was a question here from Betty Sue in regards to the object shown in your photos. Is an odd number better than an even number? I guess it was there was Sue's comments about the people in the photos. That's when the question was posed, and then after that we went to that Tokyo shot with 1 million people. I didn't want to count them all to see if there were odd number of people in there. I had to take my shoes off, but and then we went to the shot with 2 people in it, like waiting on the thing. So when you're looking at your shots, I guess, try and paraphrase the photo from Betty Sue. Do you look for things, or do you just look?
I love I've forgotten the word. Symmetry. I love symmetry. It's just a bit weird. So I love everything lined up. It's quite bizarre. So when I see 2, they've got to be in the right spots. But I think aesthetically and with interior design, odd number is the way to go. But I think if you're going to do 2 or 1, they've got to be placed correctly. I don't know. That's just a weird thing that I sort of believe, but I hadn't actually noticed that they were odd, and that those people sitting there was an odd number. It's the 7. So, but yeah, I guess that's also symmetry. You've got the person in the middle, and then the 3 on either side. It's just about placement.
And I've got a question here about what challenges did you face, if any, taking photos in Morocco?
Lots of challenges. Well, people scare the life out of you before you go there and say, wear long dresses and cover up and this and that. And yes, we obviously were very respectful, and we did do that. I wished I'd had a smaller camera when I was there, because we were a little bit obvious. And also we went during Ramadan, and whilst that is culturally very significant and the tension in the air is amazing, I'd probably like to go back in a non-Ramadan time. Personally, I'm really glad I experienced it, but everyone's sort of not eating and grumpy and fulfilling their religious requirements for Ramadan. But we had the odd person sort of give us a bit of a snarl, but we were just very respectful. We knew that it wasn't going to be like India, where people love having their photos taken, and you're like a mini celebrity because they just want to talk to you and follow you around, and the whole concept of having your photo taken is normal. But in Morocco, much more private people. I don't know if you saw some of that in the architecture, but very small windows. There's no big windows. No one wants to show inside your house, particularly unless you're invited. And yeah, that whole privacy, we had to be respectful of, for sure.
Thank you. And I just a few questions on the street scene in Perth. I was there last year and took some photos. I didn't see anybody that was out and about, although I was only there for 3 or 4 days. But is there a big local street scene, apart from the Unexposed Collective and the groups that you're in? Is there a chance of bumping into somebody in the street there with a camera?
Oh yeah, I see a few, and we sort of look at each other and know what we're doing. But no, I would have to say nothing like Melbourne and Sydney. I wouldn't have thought. But some days, you'll be out in Fremantle and it's a beautiful day, and yes, you do see the odd street photographer, and I'm sure there's actually a much larger community than I'm aware of, but yeah, not as obvious. In Melbourne, oh my gosh, when I walk around Melbourne, I see a lot of people taking photos.
So do you feel like that you're not standing out there in Melbourne? Is that your feel of it? Do you just
Yes.
feel like another tourist, or?
You just, well, either another tourist or a photographer who is doing some work, or, you know, like it's not weird. It's not bizarre. You fit in quite well. I wear a strap. I have my camera over my body and sits at my hip. So I can actually just disguise. I can actually just push it to my back, and all I've got is a strap. It could be a bag. So I quite like when I'm walking just to have it down there. But as I said before, I would like to get a less obvious camera, and a lighter camera, and make that jump. And I think I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And there's something here from Oliver who says, he thanks you for tonight's presentation and says, go for the like a Q. So I don't know, maybe there's something in the Christmas stocking coming for you. Who knows?
Well, Jesse Marlow once mentioned to me, I think he was very keen on the like a Q as well.
Yeah, I think Sue's a convert to the Q2 as well. So
okay, I think. All right, I'll go and do a test run.
Okay, I just have another question here. Where has been your favourite place in the world to shoot?
Favourite place in the world to shoot would be India. And I've only been there once, and I would go back in a heartbeat. In fact, I had my whole life planned around India. I was going to go to the south. I was going to go here. I was going to go there. I just had all the people worked out that, you know, let's go here, let's go there. And now I can't. But I'm so grateful that I had the 2.5-week trip that I had there. I totally fell in love with it. And I just would love to go back and do it all again with, you know, see. I mean, I think once you've experienced somewhere, it's a bit of a shock sometimes. I remember waking up the first day in Jodhpur, and we were staying we'd sort of arrived, I think, at night, and we walked, they had a rooftop restaurant, and we walked to the edge and looked down, and honest to God, I thought I was like on a movie set. I just couldn't believe the cows walking down the street, the people here, there. It was like someone had placed them, you know, all this amazing scene. And that's just Jodhpur. That was just the people, the culture, and something different that I had never experienced. Even though I'd lived other places around the world, and I'd lived in Singapore. Singapore's very clean and clinical. This was just the raw India, and I just was, you know, just blown away, and very emotional, you know, because it was just always wanted to go there. Finally, at my age, I'd got there, and just enjoying the people, the culture, and the fact that they love having you there. And we had no problems with the people, and there was that beautiful sense of immersing yourself, you know, day to day, and just getting those images along the way. Yeah, loved it.
You're ticking a few things off the bucket list for street photographers. Then you get New York, Tokyo, places in India, Melbourne. So yeah. Well done. You've done quite a few things.
Yeah, and that's all very strategic, Russell. I go, where do I want to go next? Where will I get good photos? Nice was actually, my husband was on a work trip, and he said, do you want to come to Nice? And I went, yes. But certainly New York was chosen for that reason. And we actually found New York quite hard, but I don't know why. Yeah, places like obviously Morocco, the colours, you know, yeah, but really as a street photographer, you should be able to make the most out of anywhere you are.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm just going through a list here, and there's so many people just thanking you for tonight, commenting on the amazing photos, and just saying that lovely to hear all the stories behind the images. So thank you very much. I love your analogy on golf and photography. I subscribe to the golf is a good work spoiled theory. So even if I don't get a shot out with my camera, I still enjoy the walk. So I'll tip my hat to you. I can't play golf for anything.
I love it. I played 18 holes today, and I had my best score for a long time. So
well, congratulations. I think 18 holes would go far longer than 2 hours for me. So sorry.
No, 18 holes takes me. It takes over 4 hours, but yeah, it's a good walk. And when you get a few, it's like coming back from a, with your camera and knowing, oh, I reckon there's a couple of good ones in there. I'm so excited. So yeah, that was today.
Awesome. Well, good luck with that. Well, I'd just like to thank you. I think that's just about it for tonight. I don't have any more questions for you. So
well, I'd just like to say thank you to AASPI. It's actually been fantastic. It's made me think a lot about things, and it's inspired me to get moving again. And thank you guys for all the hard work that you do, keeping Australian street photographers involved and updated. And yeah, I think it's fantastic. And thank you very much for inviting me.
It's been our pleasure, and thanks very much for the wonderful presentation. We were speaking last week at our meeting about trying to motivate people again or get people enthused. So that's great to hear, as we have our showcase event for next year booked in, and we want to see if we can get everybody up and about like after the lockdown's finished. So hopefully everybody can get out there and be inspired. So
yeah, I'd love to come. Whenever it is, I hope I'll be let out of WA.
Love to see you over here anyway.
Help!
Yeah. Okay, that just about wraps it up. So I'd just like to thank you for that. And if you'd like to see more of Catherine's work, you can check out her website at catherinematthys.com and her Insta feed, Catherine_Matthys. There's some great images there. I recommend going to check that out. And speaking of Instagram, our monthly challenge for October is graphic elements. So all the details there on our Insta feed if you want to go and check that out. And you can join in with that. Our newsletter should appear in your inbox. I think it's this week. It's very shortly anyway. And it has information regarding our AGM on the 11th of November. So you can check that out. And just finally, join us in a couple of weeks. That's on the 28th of October for our next guest speaker, world-renowned street photographer, Melbourne's very own Jessie Marlow. So we spoke a bit about Jessie today. If you want some inspiration, go out shoot street. I think next week might be the week to tune in. So yeah, that should be one not to miss out on. So you'll put that in your diary. Anyway, that's all we have for tonight. So just everyone stay safe and good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.